Good morning, everyone. It is a great day to be here in America, in my living room, ready to go. And I wanted to show you guys something. You see this? This is my $1 coin. I was actually looking for like a quarter or a nickel or something. I think we are just going to export all of the debt. The United States debt is not going to be an issue. We're just going to export it. And I'll tell you why. Basically, full stop, end of video. Last night, I went to go get some pet salt since it's like 6 degrees outside here on Cape Cod. And there was a big sign. And if I can, I'm using a different platform, so I'm going to try to overlap it on here. Big sign that says, due to the penny shortage, everything is going to be denominated in 5 cents. It didn't, it was a hardware store. It didn't use that exact, I'm paraphrasing, didn't use those exact words. So basically in the computer system, when they put a price into the thing and they calculate out the tax, the 6.25% sales tax in Massachusetts is going to have to be denominated in 5 cent increments because we did away with the penny. Now the penny is, pre 1984 was 100% copper. Now it's like copper, alloy, cucca, whatever. So it got me thinking. I said, okay, why not? Well, how much does it cost? The price of copper is skyrocketing. So how much does it cost today to actually make a penny? Or a nickel or a dime or a quarter? Forever. We were losing money. The whole reason, we were losing money printing pennies. And now that the cost of copper has, 2x'd along with everything else in the metals market, how much does it actually cost? Well, and since we need, and this was we're just going to export all the debt. I think this is going to come to a head very soon. We have a lot to discuss here, but it all starts off with this. Now, I believe this is brass. This is one of those $1, I don't know, Susan B. Anthony or whatever, one of those Liberty dollars. This is probably brass. Brass is copper and aluminum mixed. Okay. Highly valuable, not for the face value, but the fact that it's like antiseptic. Like brass and copper has one of those natural properties where it doesn't hold on to like bacteria, which is why all of your door handles used to be brass and copper. That's why, because it would kill bacteria. And your pipes in your home, the water flowing through them, were copper forever for that exact reason. I don't know why they ever switched to plastic. It's probably going to kill people and give them birth defects like children of thalidomide. Anyways, I digress. If we're just going to export the debt, meaning we have so many things going on right now. The United States is going to become a net exporter of a lot of things. This is part of Trump's big overarching plan. Starting off with metals. Starting off with, let's just kill the currency. There is an entire black market of people that still dealing in physical currencies. All of those people are going to probably end up moving to Circle. USDC, who owns Circle, which is owned by BlackRock, all of those people, Larry Fink is going to become infinitely wealthier than he already. It's just going to be the global, index of Fink. But everyone's just going to start using Circle, USDC, USDT, which is the tether, and we're just going to get rid of physical currency. This happened years ago, by the way, in the smaller countries. And the other day on X, I told you guys that when something small in another country happens, no one even bats an eye. There's multiple small countries, low GDP, that have removed physical currency years ago. No one even took notice because no one gave a shit. because it was so small. Let me tell you. All right, so the dime, the quarter, and the nickel are all made from nickel copper alloy. Okay, it costs 14 cents right now to mint one nickel, which has a denomination of 5 cents. Why the hell would you spend 14 cents to mint one nickel? Why would you spend 300% more almost? Okay. It costs 14.68 cents to mint one quarter. So the mint value is about half of what the value is. Now, factored in, it's not just pure alloy, it's also because of the electricity costs, the minting cost, the other costs associated with it. However, you still have to factor that in. So both the material and the overhead, if copper gets to about $10 a pound, right now it's almost at 6, okay? And again, with this infrastructure build out we're going, copper's easily going to double. There's no way about it. Nickel will easily, copper and nickel for their unique properties. You need nickel for battery storage along with cobalt. Keep telling you guys this. You need nickel and cobalt for battery storage. You need the copper and nickel. You don't really need the nickel for electricity, but you do need the copper and the aluminum for the electrification of the grid. Okay, in my own neighborhood, they're replacing the entire grid structure in all these little neighborhoods where I live and pushing them all underground, because a lot of our grid, especially here in the Northeast, is from like the 1940s, and we lose power historically in the country more than anyone else. Let me see. So nickel would have to get to $21 per pound. Copper gets to $10 per pound. And then the quarter would be at break even, meaning that it would cost 25 cents to mint the 25-cent value. However, if that happens, now again, that's if it goes to those prices. Nickels and dimes are already a net negative. The penny is already a net negative. So if you look at everything as a whole, and that's at the current price, if you look at everything in the whole, it costs more money to mint this stuff than they actually gain in value from holding it. If we actually get to the point where, like, to mint a quarter is the actual face value of the quarter, that means they already got rid of the penny. That means like the nickel and the dime, it would cost them like 6 times what the face value is in order to mint those. That's a massive net negative. That doesn't make any sense. Right now, we're basically at break even. Okay, so if they would just go, you know what? Let's just get rid of all physical currencies. We're gonna put, we're gonna ask Visa and MasterCard, Discover we're gonna cap it. This is just headline news. We're gonna cap the interest rate at 10%. Headline news. And by doing so, instead, to make up for it, because great trading partner, they generate a ton of revenue, we're going to get rid of paper currencies so that they can make up that interest rate. They're going to make it up in transaction costs, because we're just going to do away with all paper currencies. Because, like, I own a business, right? Every time someone swipes a credit card, it costs me like 3.2%. Right. And then so that's kind of like built in. Now, if I go, hey, you know what, we're going to get rid of, I don't know what the difference is. Maybe 30% of consumers pay with cash. Said, look, we're going to increase our profit margins of people paying on physical card significantly higher, because everyone's going to be using their debit card, their credit card, whatever, banks will turn out well. MasterCard, Visa, all of them will do significantly well. But we need you guys to do us a favor. We need you to cap your credit card limits. You're going to make so much more money just being able to charge fees, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it. The amount of money they're going to make if the U.S. just says we're going to get rid of we're just going to get rid of currencies, every other country will follow suit. You'll see the EU follow suit. They're all having constraints like we do. Europe is a massive player in the metals market, by the way, probably the largest player in the metals market. So if the U.S. does it, the rest of the world will just follow suit. It won't even be a question. We have some other stuff going on. So that's one thing. We're getting rid of all currencies. Everyone, so the black market, the illicit things will just go on blockchain, like they've always been on the blockchain. But you just won't operate in coins and paper stuff anymore. All of that stuff will just go towards Visa, MasterCard. They'll cap their interest rate because they're going to make up so much more of the spread on everyone transacting on with their card. It'll save the mint a fortune, which they will recycle those metals into the infrastructure to keep the infrastructure costs down. Okay, there's a whole plan here, just so you guys know. We got some interesting stuff with Japan that I was just thinking about. Japan has a huge inflation issue. The JGB is climbing all-time highs. They are one of our greatest trading partners. I wouldn't be surprised, this is just speculation, that, again, they hold a lot of our debt. They use it for liquidity because their currency sucks. And I wouldn't be surprised if Trump goes, look, why don't we just start buying down your debt? It's great for all parties, okay? If we can keep the trade between the United States and Japan really, really good, okay, you're going to see, again, people pair the yen and the USD together, and they go and they buy equities. So if we can keep that trading partner really, really good, you're going to see, the equities market, especially the Mag 7, skyrocket. It's just going to be insane returns. If people can do that. I'm speculating. I would not be surprised if that happens. Okay, we had a couple other things. So we've covered two things. China this morning approved 400,000 NVIDIA chips they're going to buy. The H200 chips, China just approved that they're going to buy those right before earnings. Perfect timing. Great. Why are they going to do that? Well, we just took out their largest supplier of oil. In order to make plastic and like polymers, you need oil. Okay. And they were getting it all from Venezuela. Now it's ours. So good luck to you. Amazon this morning announced that they're going to be laying off 16,000 people right ahead of earnings this week. That means earnings, or even if earnings come in bad, which I don't think they will because it's, the holiday, Christmas and all that stuff, that will surely go up. I just got a notification that my position on Roundhill, the MAGS, MAGS, just went up over 67. It was at 64 for a while, which means that my protective put is not going to be doing very well, but that's okay. I digress. The EU, again, a trading partner. They are huge in the metal space. What they lack, though, is they lack natural gas. They have a massive issue right now trying to find natural gas. They don't really have it there. The United States has been the largest producer of natural gas since like 2009. Ever since we started doing fracking, which is where instead of drilling down into the ground in Texas, they go like sideways and they push water into the ground, and then they extract all the water. And when the water is it's like a net neutral where it'll just absorb whatever's around it, and it'll absorb it, and then they can separate the water from the oil. The problem is that it leaves like giant pockets underground, but that's just how we have to do it. We are the largest producer and exporter of natural gas. Natural gas is just a derivative of oil, okay? Like propane, like gasoline, they're just derivatives at like different. I'm gonna just say it. I'm gonna say it like different boiling points, sort of. I don't want to get into it, but it's different points. Like the elements kind of separate. The gases separate based on how heavy they are. And natural gas is one of them. The second place is Russia. Interesting. We haven't heard anything from them in a while. I wonder what's going on over there. I know our president and their president has a whatever kind of relationship. The third place, now this is interesting, is Iran. And this morning, it was like 4 o'clock this morning, I got a notification from Trump had like angry tweeted, like Iran better knock it off or something along those lines. We have moved our entire naval fleet all around Iran and set up defense systems in like Jordan. We have them entirely surrounded. They have no like electricity and internet and whatnot. I'm pretty sure Elon put a bunch of Starlink things in the sky so that we at least have intelligence there. Big things are happening. Big things are happening. And, Iran is the third largest exporter producer of natural gas. Again, the EU needs it. The EU needs it, and they are, again, one of our largest trading partners. They need it. They do not have any, oil or anything to speak of, but they do have precious metals. Where am I going with this? It's just a fun macro thing to watch. I think the 60-40, where you're long, you're 60% equity, 40% exposure to treasuries, is a time. It's no longer here. People are going, well, I could be 60% Mag 7 or 50% Mag 7 with 20% AI tech, and I'm just going to throw the rest into precious metals. Basically, people are like, gold does very well right now, where treasuries used to do well. When we have like pullbacks or some bad news, gold is doing fantastic. Silver is doing fantastic. All precious metals are doing fantastic. You need like, again, for batteries, you need nickel, you need cobalt. For the infrastructure, you're going to need I told you guys yesterday, you need like the zinc, the aluminum, the copper, because you got to build up the storage. We're going to have the Tesla robots. We're going to have the battery storage is going to be probably the biggest constraint, because everything has to work together, especially if we're going to go into like a solar energy type infrastructure where like AI is so massively needed. And that's it. But again, we're gonna get rid of physical currency. That's probably the biggest news that you need to be aware of. What can you do with it? I don't really know. I think banks will just stop. They're just going to say, hey, like, by this date, we're no longer going to be, allowing that. I don't know if it'll still be a federal crime to melt it if they stop issuing it. Like, if we're no longer minting pennies, is it still a federal crime to melt it down? I don't really know. And then, like, where do you go to sell it? Not really sure. I'll have to look into that for you guys. But that's it. I just wanted to tell you guys, to mint a quarter, it's 14.68 cents. To mint a nickel, it's 14 cents. It's almost the same price to mint a quarter and a nickel. And we're just going to export all the debt because the entire globe, again, so the United States, I mentioned this yesterday, had invested in all these different precious metal mining operations. That's going to be our treasury, right? We have the oil, okay, that China needs, the world needs. We have the natural gas that Europe needs because Europe has tons. They are like the largest holder of metals. We're gonna have the metal. We're gonna have the oil. We're gonna have the natural gas. We're gonna have the AI. We're gonna be the leading exporter of goods that's ever been seen. That's ever been seen. And we're gonna control the entire internet thanks to Elon. And yeah, America's not going anywhere. Where every other great, the Roman Empire, where every other empire has always failed, is that they were never able to fully conquer the world without taking over their problems. And we have failed in that regard to some extent. When you take over a country, you take over its problems. But if you take over their monetary supply and you're not there, you just take over how the people transact back and forth. You get to dictate how their country works without actually having to deal with their little problems, their skirmishes. And that is where the United States has really surpassed like the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire. They had to expand and conquer, but then they had to deal with all the crap that came along with it. The United States, we can sit in our ivory tower here, surrounded on all sides with an ocean, our golden dome, and we get to play puppet master with the rest of the world because we control their monetary supply, and we can do it while playing Xbox. It's fascinating. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a great day. Happy trading. Big earnings week. I'm excited. Again, if you are a mutual fund holder or a treasury holder, I'm sorry, you're going to get your face kicked in. They're going to perform terribly bad. Not to mention that the fees that are loaded on those things are awful. Precious metals for the win. Long-term, decade play. I love it. Tech's going to do fantastic. We're going to get Visa and MasterCard are going to do really, really well if they secure that deal with the president capping their interest rates because they are going to collect the windfall of getting rid of this. Circle is going to do fantastic because there's always going to be a black market, and the black market's just going to move to blockchain. Or Monero, I believe, don't quote me, I believe is still untraceable. There's always going to be a black market. Cryptocurrency the cryptography, I should say, has been around since like 1980. There's always been a blockchain, this whole like Bitcoin thing. And, in 2011, that was just kind of like a rendition of it. But cryptography has been around since like 1980. I believe Monero is still the only one that is untraceable. Do your own research on that. Yeah, exciting stuff. Exciting stuff indeed. So I will see you guys later. I look forward to your comments, by the way. If there's anything you guys want me to touch on, please let me know.